You're tuned to the wavelength of your own beauty. It's your host, Ahmed Yunus, and this is The Study. Okay, now I thought a lot about how I want to start this interview. In the name of the beginning before all beginnings and the ending after all ends, the source of love and beauty and mercy and justice. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Courtney, Erwin, welcome to our humble show.
Hi, it is so wonderful to be here. The smile on my lips is up to my ears.
In every crew, there is a prophetic character. In every grouping of people, no matter where, how much money, how little money, how much power, how little power, in every group of friends, there is a prophetic character. There is someone who is marching along a journey that is about something much bigger than what the rest of us are kind of consumed with. And in my life, Courtney, Erwin, you are without any doubt that prophetic character.
Tell me why. That's amazing, but tell
I'm
me
so
why.
excited to have this conversation as to why. Courtney, you let me just do like a quick overview. Courtney, you are a lawyer. You are a world traveler. You have been living in the Middle East for like the last 11, 12 years. You started as after law school as a grassroots activist in the DC, Maryland, Virginia area, helping interfaith communities do political action, advocacy, and policy work. Then you went to the Cordoba Initiative, which was an attempt at bringing people together across divides. Through that, you and I ate stinky fruit in Kuala Lumpur. We traveled to all kinds of amazing places. Then you graced the land of Qatar by joining Education for All, Education Above All.
Above all, yeah.
Interesting. Okay, Education Above All, which is one of Qatar Foundation's spawn projects that has Sheikh Al-Moza as one of its champions. And that project was about like literally making sure that children in conflict zones had access to education.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and you were like, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, basically it was using, my section was using law, international law, to protect schools, universities, teachers, students, education personnel during conflict and insecurity. Yeah.
Amazing. Then you went to Morocco and you went to Rabat and you...
I went to Fez.
Fez. Okay, but wait,
Yeah.
I'm just going to say one sentence and then I'm going to rewind and then you're actually going to take us through the story.
Mm-hmm.
You went to Morocco and you decided that you were going to start a show called Hello Maroc. Okay. In Arabic, a show in Arabic, the first Arabic language show in the Middle East by, I think, a Westerner, not just an American, or by a non-Arab, like
an American woman, because our dear friend Hamza Youssef rocked this field before I did. So
all right, yeah, that definitely does not count. So you are the first. Okay, good. Courtney, you, all these languages, all these countries, prophetic character. I have seen you engage with heads of state, prime ministers, people who don't know where their food is coming from tomorrow, people who think that they're the solution for humanity, people that are gonna go hurt themselves unless they get some. Like, I have seen this human being in all contexts. What I would love to do is I would love to share your amazing prophetic character with the world through you telling the story of being Bint Mad Dog and how the daughter of these American people realized that this is the life that she wanted to live for this period of her life.
Oh, Ahmed, thank you so much. But as you're talking about this, I realized that we've been in these places like since graduating law school. Like we were in DC together, and we've been in New York together, and we were in Malaysia together, and we were in Qatar together. And so like you said, you've really seen this very strange journey that I've been on, and now I'm in Morocco.
Mm.
And yeah, it's super interesting because even though I started out as a lawyer, and that's all the law is very much a part of my life, but when I left Qatar and when I started, when I came to Morocco, which I can tell that story because it's kind
Please
of this
do.
this
Please do.
journey. Well, so if it's so funny also because I've told these stories in Arabic, and so this is the first time that I'm telling these stories in English, right?
Yeah.
And so when I tell them in Morocco, I find myself in such crazy, Morocco, I call Narnia because it's
Mm.
like living and operating in a different dimension, which is why I came here because you've got one life to live, and why not just make it epic, right? like find that epic path that you can walk on and that is not easy, but that is full of beauty and full of wonder, right? Because like Rabbi Heschel, as he said, I didn't ask God for money. I didn't ask God for success. I asked God for wonder, and He gave it to me every time. And I think of that,
Mm.
and I try
Mm.
to go there,
Mm. Mm.
right?
Mm. Mm.
So yeah,
But
so
you were blessed. You were blessed somehow with the type of personality that, like, literally grand rabbis and grand imams will be willing to meet each other only because you are the one that was like, hey, we got to make this conversation happen, right? Like, there's also this, like, in a world of Instagram lives, you're somebody that didn't do that and is living like you are living. Alhamdulillah, God give you long life and bless you, mashallah, and everything you do. You're living what a lot of young people in America think they want, but approach in the wrong way. Does that make sense?
yeah, when I went, and I've actually, I constantly am trying to revisit like why I am on this earth, like what is my journey in this dimension, right?
Mm,
Because we got
mm,
multiple dimensions that we're going through. I can get pretty Sufi on you during this
mm.
during this conversation,
Yeah, we welcome it.
but like why am I here? And I truly, from my perspective, what I've always tried to kind of come back to is to be this person that does connect and it does walk in these, very different worlds and see how I can, find some connection between them and be that bridge. One of the reasons why I came to Morocco was to be with my teacher, Sidi Ahmed. And, he talks about this skill of translation and not just translation across languages, but to be a translator across communities, across dreams, across, grievances, across hopes and aspirations, and really, you know, uh, hone and develop that skill. And so
Mm,
that's, but and in doing that to be, just who you are, right? And to not try to be anybody else and not treat anybody differently, and to see the dignity and the humanity in every single person in front of you, right? And so that's the journey. And so I can talk about
I have like
who raised this creature.
two immediate questions. Wait, first, you're not there just like you're also there as like a subject matter expert scholar at Rabita al Muhammadiyya. Is that what it's called?
Yeah,
Can
yeah,
you explain a
exactly.
little bit about what that is and then take us to Mad
Yeah,
Dog?
yeah, I can. And I'm going to take you. So I can do Morocco, and then I'll. Yeah. Okay, got it. So yeah, so when you and I were working together on a project, right, on this Sharia index. So
Mm,
how can states today
mm.
implement the principles of Islamic law, and which states would best be doing that, right? And
Finland won. That's why the project
exactly,
got killed.
Finland
Finland
wins.
won. That's why there's no there's no Sharia index. Yes.
And so one of our experts was a gentleman who is the Secretary General of the Mohammedan League of Religious Scholars. And so when we were working together in Malaysia with him, I spent a day showing him around Kuala Lumpur, and that day kind of was, I was the guide, but really he was the guide, right? And really, I kind of began to realize that what he was saying and the information and the wisdom that was coming out of him was so profound and touched me so deeply that I continued to try to work with him on this project. And I traveled to Morocco, and I would sit with his family, and even when I was in Qatar, I would continue to come back, especially if I was having a crisis of confidence, because when I went to Morocco, I felt like I had no idea what I was doing. And like so many people felt like I was just a total fraud and fake. And do I know, how can I set up a legal program? I know nothing about this area of law. And so what did I do? I escaped to Morocco, this place that has been my spiritual refuge since the first time I came 23 years ago. And I'd sit with him, and he would mostly just ask me questions, right? I mean, this is a different kind of Socratic method from that of law school, but he'd ask me such profound questions about, like, why do you seek knowledge, Courtney? Right? Like, why are you reading? What is the point of reading this book? And I just would be like, I don't know. Courtney, why are you here? What are you doing? What is it like? The existential questions that I at least in college and university, it was fun to, read these books and kind of contemplate Socrates and Dante, but this was then living them and asking yourself these questions, right? Where is as you would say, where is your qibla? Like, what is that inner fitra inside of you? Where is it directed toward? If you direct your inner kind of compass, if it's not directed someplace, then if you're trying to get to Spain and you're traveling from New York, you might, go all the way down to South Africa and zoom around over to India, but set that compass, know where that compass is. And what is it said? What is that direction, Courtney? And I had no answers. I just mostly just sat there and like cried because I was, so confused. And I would just keep coming back for it though, right? Like, rather than be, I guess, afraid and scared that I had no answers and didn't know what I was doing, I was like, I got to keep coming back to this.
What does he say? The wound is where the light enters you. Yeah. So you're coming back for more.
The wound is, exactly. And so, after 4 years in Qatar, I had a dear friend who was working at the Qatar Foundation. And I was like, it was time to do something else. And I didn't really know what I wanted to do. And she just looked at me and she was like, well, why don't you move to Morocco? And I was like, what are you talking about?
Just matter of fact.
Like, yeah, just go to Morocco. And I was like, what do you mean? And she's like, well, you don't have a family. You have no, husband or children or obligations. You've saved up a ton of money. You go to Morocco every year. You love it. You want to do Arabic. Why don't you just move there? And I was like, but I'd be mid-career at age, 35, 37, moving to Morocco with no job and what do you mean? She's like, what is stopping you from doing that?
Because at that time when we were living, Qatar was like becoming London. It was becoming like, it was almost like we would literally every week, our friends would come from other countries to come for conferences. And then and so you really are like choosing not to be at the like apex of modernity, advancement, technology, luxury. And you're choosing to just be like, I'm leaving Babylon.
And prior to that, I'd been in New York City, which I love New York City so much. And and so I going from New York to Qatar was less of a culture shock than going from Qatar to Fez, to the medieval village. And so I told my friend, I was like, you just need one person in your life to say one thing at the right time and to be open to that. And it changes your life. She changed. I just saw her recently in Houston, and I was like, I will always make my pilgrimage to you to say thank you because you changed my life, right? So I just listened to that, and I was like, I can do that. And so then I thought, well, where am I going to go when I go to Morocco, right? And when I was 20, I'd been studying abroad in Spain, and my girlfriends and I, this is 1998, my girlfriends and I drove a car from Madrid all the way down into Morocco, you know, like little hippies in the 90s. But and we came into Fez, and I just remember thinking, because again, I've always wanted to be Indiana Jones, right? And wanted this like life of adventure. And I was like, Fez is like, I can be Indiana Jones here, right?
Because
and
literally it's like an ancient vibe. Like you're literally
it's still like 900, right? And it's this walled medieval city, and people are crazy there, right? I mean, it collects, it draws people who are so eccentric and, you know, can just let their freak flag fly, right? And so I was like, I want to go back to Fez. That's where I'm going to live. Because when I was 20, I was there and I said, I'm going to live here someday. So 20 some years later, I was like, I'm going back there and I'm going to live there. And so I came into, and I lived in this like beautiful giant riad that was, again, the eccentricity of this place, right? This giant riad, or like former palace, that was owned by a French count and his British playwright wife, who just wrote plays and wrote novels, but never published them, but just continued to write them. Are
you serious? That's where you moved into?
That's where I moved into. And I studied Arabic like 8 hours a day, including during Ramadan, which was like so hot and like so intense. But just like doing my Arabic, because this language, I am obsessed with this language beyond anything else. It is so much a part of my life. And I have this emotional relationship with it. And I was like, okay, I'm just going to do this. So but my God, like I left a very high paying job. I left respect. I left status. I was like, what am I? Am I a lawyer? Am I not? Like, who am I? And like had to just like tell everybody, you know, that's what I was going to do. Now, when I did that, I you know, before going, I mean, this is going to loop into Mad Dog. Before going to Morocco, I had because I had been working in insecurity and conflict, and we'd done a lot of work related to the Democratic Republic of Congo. And I was like, gosh, I really want to go to Kinshasa. And I had a friend who was at our U.S. embassy there, and she sent out this email and was like, anybody want to come visit me in Kinshasa? And guess who's like, I'm coming. To me, right? So I get on the plane.
Of course, Courtney's going to Kinshasa.
And I'm like, I'm visiting you in Kinshasa. And so I go to Kinshasa and have this Kinshasa is amazing. Like the music, the dancing, like it was epic. Yes. And then I went over into the Republic of Congo and took a 17-hour bus up into the northern jungles, some of the deepest, densest jungles on the planet, and was in the jungles with the Western lowland gorillas and all this kind of stuff. And like on a like a dugout canoe with the pygmies, and it was so, and the water was the color of rubies, and like again I was in this other world. And when I came out of there, I was talking to my father, Mad Dog, and he was like, I don't understand, what in the world were you doing over there in Congo on a boat, and it was raining. And I was like, Mad Dog, you crazy man. I was like, who do you think created this?
Yeah, well done.
Right? Like, who took his 7-year-old daughter up in his open cockpit bi-wing airplane and did woofer deals and whoop-de-whoops up in the you know, and who took his 11-year-old daughter on into the wilds of Alaska with like bear and moose on a raft for a week, and it rained every day. I was like, this is your fault, you know?
That is so beautiful. That is so beautiful. Where does your dad live, and where did he grow up?
He lives in Seattle, Washington, and he grew up in Memphis, Tennessee. Yeah.
But Courtney is the human that sees like the connection between Seattle, Memphis, Fez, Rabat, Doha, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
That's the amazing part about your journey.
Yeah. Well, and how like, again, so the TV program that I had here. So when I moved to Morocco, and again, I came here and I was like, okay, what am I going to do? Right.
In this palace.
Where
people were writing poems that are not for publishing.
Not for publishing, like living in this totally other alternative reality, which is so different from, like you said, being in Doha or being in New York City, where you feel like you're you know, I mean, I lived in DC.
No, but we should also,
Washington,
your
DC.
personality. Courtney
Mm.
responds to emails immediately. Courtney's got 15 projects going on at the same time. She has Excel spreadsheets managing people's, you know what I mean? Like the thing about you is like, you're not naturally somebody that's like, yeah, just chill, dog. And just like, you know, you are a like activator. You know what I mean?
Well, it's super interesting because like actually like when I moved to Morocco and I did this, right? So when I talk to people who are thinking about making like, you know, super risky life changes and they don't know, and I'm like, you can do it. Like you can absolutely do it. Like you just need to decide if that's what you want to do, if you're ready for that, if that's what you want to do. But anybody can do something that is completely terrifying and with you know, you just have to kind of maybe put a couple of little things in place so that you can be okay for a while. And then you just, it's like what Farid al-Din al-Attar, the famous Sufi poet who did Conference of the Birds said, which is going to, because the Sufis are linked to Indiana Jones, of course. But like, you know, that scene in Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade where there's no bridge over this huge, you know, crevasse, and he just believes and he takes a step and then the bridge is there to meet him. That's exactly what Attar talked about. And you have to just believe that that bridge is going to appear after you take that step, right? And that it's going to be okay. Like that is a tremendous act of faith.
Do people see this woman talking into my soul? People, this woman's talking into my soul. Yes. Wow. But
like when I came to Morocco, it was that kind of, I'm going to take that step and I'm just going to have to believe it's going to be okay. And I'm going to, you know, kind of let go of all these things that I believed were so important. Again, like status and money and I don't know, and career and all these things, and be like, well, I'm going to find something else. Right. And what that did was the first year to year and a half when I came to Morocco was super hard because I felt so unproductive. Like, again, I had all of this weight, like, oh my gosh, all my friends, including Ahmed Yunus, are like, you know, under secretaries of state at the State Department, and they're like advising Obama, and they're like advising all these people. That's why, like, you're talking to me. You like, I can't even believe you want me on your show because I'm like,
get out of here,
you hang out with the big leagues.
On,
and I'm like, oh my god, I'm over here like in Morocco, just like floating around in this totally, you know, other world. But like, I felt this like crushing weight of comparison, which I think is one of the worst things on earth is to compare yourself. Like I found it so debilitating, and I had to get to this point where I was like, stop comparing yourself with anybody else, then just be where you are, right? And then I was like, oh, but I'm not being productive enough. I'm over here. I don't even have a full-time job. Like I'm consulting and
that's a thing. Full time.
Right. But I was like, I need to be writing at least 2 books. I know, again, Ahmed Yunus has already written how many books?
Get out of here. No, but yeah, no, I know it well.
Yeah, and it's like so.
I know the feeling.
Oh, crushing. And so for me, like, it took me a solid year or so to kind of get like to unhook myself from a much more traditional kind of way of life. And like you said, like all my spreadsheets, I mean, I'm still pretty, you know, organized, but I've also, I mean, the way that I live now is really different than the way I was living in Qatar, in New York, in Washington, DC. And, you know, and it was just, but I also came here to focus on other things, right? So I came here to focus on Arabic and the journey through language. I came here to focus on my spiritual journey and to like go deep in that way. I came to be on the continent of Africa, in an Arab, Muslim, African land, which I love being here. And so, you know, and to also be, you know, I here am just, I am outside of my comfort zone, like every single day, most of the day. I don't speak the local dialect, Darija, like I don't speak that. So, you know, when I go to my little market,
you're rocking your Fusha.
I'm rocking my Fusha. And like the guy, I was buying some Beldi eggs the other day, and he was just like, what? Right? And I'm like, he's like, come back. And I was like, I will be back buying my eggs from you. We
I'll
can
be
speak
back.
in Fusha, right?
Wow.
Or like, you know, the Salafist taxi drivers, they are my best friends because they're the ones who just can absolutely carry on a conversation with me, right?
Oh, because they're the only ones that know the Arabic. Yeah.
So then we get into some awesome, deep conversations about
That's
Islam,
amazing.
and
That's
like,
amazing.
you know, so like I'm just a weirdo here, and that allows you. I mean, if that's why people, I think, migrate, and that's why people leave their home and go on this, you know, Joseph Campbell, you know, hero journey, is because you have to leave where you come from to know yourself in such a different way, and to see yourself and to see where you came from in such a different way, and to be like, again, let's rock Plato's allegory of the cave, so you can come back. And then, but then there's the challenge of when you come back, you're different, and how do you then build those bridges with those who you left?
Oh boy, been doing that one. Yeah, that one's not easy. That one, the coming back one is talk a little bit, Courtney. Like I can't keep saying like, thank you, I love you, you're amazing. Talk a little bit about someone who chooses to embark upon learning a language and then within a year and a half or 2 years has a show.
Okay,
in
so
that
I was
language,
thinking,
like that.
yeah, no, so I was thinking about this actually today because so my journey with Arabic is like, I started taking it when I was doing my master's in Islamic studies. And so that was, you know, like 20 years ago or whatever. And I took 2 years and I loved it and it was amazing. But then I kind of went away from it, but it was always there. And
This
then
is
in
after
Qatar,
law school?
that was before law school.
Before law school, okay.
Yeah. So before law school, I took it for 2 years while I was doing my master's in Islamic studies. And then I did law school, and then I kind of, you know, left the Islamic studies world and kind of went into the hard, you know, international law world. And then I wasn't, you know, taking Arabic. And then when I went to Qatar, I started taking Arabic again. And so I had a tutor. And then when I came to, so it's been there, but then when I came to Morocco, I started to, you know, totally intensively, you know, doing it. And like, the thing is like, I mean, so when I was approached, so again, I left this kind of very structured world. And then in doing that, weird doors started to open up. Like did I think that I was gonna have a television program in Arabic in Morocco? Of course not. That's insane. That's weird. But it was like But I threw a conversation with a friend who knew somebody who was starting a new television station in Morocco, and they needed content. And I was like, but what am I going to talk about? And she was like, seriously? It doesn't even matter. White woman, blue eyes, speaking in Fusha. That is all you got to do.
We got the ratings. That's a rating.
Yeah. I was like, that seems, are you serious? And she's like, it'll be fine. But what it meant was, I mean, my little program was like, it was like basically, so it was actually modeled after this book that I started writing and that I'm continuing to write, called Letters to Mad Dog, Sufi Daughter, Cowboy Father Dialogues, right?
Oh my God.
And so like,
I need this in my life.
So I started writing this because my dad, Sweet Mad Dog, at one point like made some very derisive comment about the Middle East and about the Muslim world, and just so dismissive. I mean, he tends to be a little bit more conservative and watches some Fox News, and I was like, and I'm so close with him and I love him so much, and that's probably why I was so devastated. And he'd made these comments before, but this one I was just like, not this time, Mad Dog. But I had tried in the past to like argue with him and send him, you know, research and articles. And he's just, and that doesn't change anything because it's not touching the heart, right? The only way you're going to get anywhere is if you speak and you connect at the heart. So I was like, how do I connect with old Mad Dog's heart, right? And I was like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take an issue. I'm going to take a topic. I'm going to write a sweet, beautiful reminiscence of our relationship around that topic. And then I'm going to link it to Islamic civilization, right?
Oh, wow.
So for example, poetry. I wrote this like, you know, an email about poetry and how like I discovered poetry through this man who has always been in motion on a heavy machinery, airplane, truck, whatever. But I saw him stilled, by a poem one day when I was 7 years old. And he recited this Louis L'Amour poem to me. And I'd never seen him in this like state of reverie. And I thought, oh, wow. And he's like, and so poetry became, and his best friend, the Rhinestone Cowboy, is the poet laureate because he writes this, cowboy poetry, right? And so then I link it to like the role of poetry in the Islamic civilization and especially the Arabs, where poetry is the highest art, right?
Wow.
Because like shev, like the
and
word
it shev, and it worked.
Yes, and it worked. I mean, it
Mind
worked.
blowing.
Like, so I started putting this together, and so now I'm trying to find a book publisher to publish this because I've got about I don't know 20 entries, but I want to make, and then so it's, and then I'm of course, and then it's all kind of wrapped in this approach of like of like a Sufi approach, right? So 5 main themes from Sufism, like beauty and like freedom and like, so that's kind of, so that's, I was telling my friend about that project and some of these like themes that we were talking about and heroes and dreams. And she was like, you can have a program and you can do this in Arabic. So the program then became, I took a theme and then I took my experience around that theme as an American woman living in Morocco, and then juxtaposed it with my experience as an American from the US. So for example, the theme of fear, like whenever I'm, and the story I would tell, because again, stories capture the heart, right? And stories stop the rational mind from analyzing and critiquing. And so I would tell the story of like, I we'd be going back to the United States, and I'd tell like the taxi driver, going back this summer to the States, and they'd be like, oh my gosh, aren't you freaked out? Like all that gun violence, and then you guys are like in the U.S. like they're shooting up schools, and you're killing the babies.
Wow.
Be careful, sister. Be careful.
In Morocco, they're saying that.
In Morocco, they're staring. Yeah. Then I go to then I'm like at the dentist, and she's about to like start cleaning my teeth, and she's like, where do you live? And she expects me to say Issaquah, Washington, and I'm like, Morocco. And she's like, oh my God, the terrorism. Aren't you afraid of like being beheaded? And I'm
being
like,
beheaded.
yeah, right. So I'm like, trying to tell these stories between these cultures. And so that's what that program was about. And it was just,
but you were also on the street. I watched it. It wasn't just in the studio. You were.
No. So I had to go out in the street. I had and again, it was just so fantastic. Like I had my like team, my technical team, and I'm like talking to them, and it feels hot. And they're just like,
we're in the van, we're going on the scene.
Yeah, we're going on the scene, and we're filming in Fez, and we're filming all over, right? And so we would do like the film. And the thing that I loved is, I don't know if it was just like this team, but man, they just relished the slow-mo. Like every scene is like slow-mo. And so, but it was, and then I'd go into the studio, and then I'd do the voiceover, and I was like, so first of all, I was just so terrified. I would tell my friends, like, I have been in the jungles of the Congo. I have been, out scuba diving with sharks. I've gone shark diving with the great whites off of South Africa.
Wow.
I mean, that stuff, not a problem. Being in front of a camera, speaking in Arabic in classical
and being
Arabic,
yourself.
And being myself. It's like terrifying, absolutely terrifying. I was so nervous. I would like write what I had to say, and then I'd take it to my Arabic teacher, and we'd go over it, and I'd write it again, and then I'd practice it and practice it and practice it. And so it was a lot of work, but it was. But
it literally was perfect Arabic. Like it literally was. Like I would watch it, and I would just be like, this is mind-blowing. Like, this is mind-blowing. This is mind-blowing. She's totally, like, doing it, dog. Like, and the people.
Oh, it's so scary. But the thing that was so important about this one was that, like, from my perspective, was that I have to have these people in my life help me make decisions or make choices or take steps that are terrifying, right? And be like, where I say it first, are you crazy? I can't do that. That's terrifying. And then they're like, you can totally do it. And you're like, all right, I'm going to do it. Like you're saying I can do it. All right, I'm going to do it. But like, it was, but so doing that, I was like, because before I did that, the concept of doing that seemed absolutely impossible to me. Like Arabic seemed so hard and difficult, and I was going to give it all my all, but like, what? Like that to me, mind blowing. totally mind blowing. Right. And then it was like, after that, so now, and then I was like, oh my God. So when I'm in Morocco, I'm going to make a commitment to myself that at every like conference or, I'm going to at least start in Arabic. So I would at least do the introduction in Arabic, and I prepare it and I do it. And then I like would try to, so now I try to do the entire presentation in Arabic. And then I even did one another like a video thing here, like off the cuff. Like I didn't prepare it, and I spoke in Fasah without the preparation. And that totally scared me. So there is at every stage another ledge to look over and to be terrified, and then to take that step and trust that bridge is going to come up and meet your step. That is what Morocco has been for me.
This woman is amazing. I just want the people in the basement of the State Department to know that you can book her when she's Secretary of State for Arabic interviews, French interviews, Spanish interviews. Courtney, it's just like, I want to ask one more question.
Yeah, of course.
I could have interviewed you about the progression of international law, your time with public international law.
Yeah.
Do you feel like the world is coming back to the sense that there needs to be okay? I could have interviewed you about Qatar and Emirates and Egypt and Libya, and I could have interviewed you about America, but I didn't want to. I really wanted to, like, I will, inshallah, but I wanted the first one to just be like, just this human being, like, what does it mean when we say, because really, I mean, I'm not like, to be prophetic, Courtney, Erwin, Bob Marley, Nelson Mandela, like those people that live for something grander than our plane.
Yeah.
As one of those people, the world today is obviously completely broken. Our country's broken, the international system is broken, and people have, I think, either found a way to not engage it and protect themselves from it, or are beginning individually to collapse because of like the weight that is upon them.
Yeah.
As someone who has been in a million negotiations, conflicts, what is your guidance on how to walk these days? Like the days that we're living right now, the schedules are gone, the interests are gone, the money is gone, the friends are gone. What is your guidance to like the heart and mind of the humans that are engaging us right now?
Yeah. I mean, so I don't know how it is that I have been so unbelievably lucky in my life to meet people that are with me in solidarity, right? And that's and chief among them is this teacher here, Sidi Ahmed, who, when I am in just my most dark and despondent moments, he is there, and he always says to me, the best is yet to come. And he is this person who is so like esteemed and so huge and so like magnificent, and he says these things to me that like blow my mind because they're so meaningful for just me. Like he will say to me, sometimes, Courtney, I'll be walking in front of you and you'll be behind me, but other times you'll be walking in front of me and I will be behind you, and you'll be learning from me just as I'm learning from you. And to have somebody of his stature say that to me, like, one thing that he has taught me is that more than anything, you have to have somebody that like believes in you, right? And that reminds you of your beauty and of your majesty, Jalal wal Jamal, right? Like that these two wings are the wings on your heart, and that you are a magnificent being of light. You have the divine light inside of you, and so does everyone around you. And that if that's how you are walking on this earth, with that consciousness, and to have a practice that helps you be in that consciousness, to find a way every day to remember, a dhikr, right? To remember who you are, and remember who everyone around you is, and to walk that way, like that to me is life-saving. But I have somebody who helps me remember, right? And so I think that I think that trying to find somebody who can be that guide and who can give that beauty. I mean, when I'm with him, like I feel this, I feel like his heart is this, you know, kind of refracting diamond that like all this light's coming through and is pouring out on me. And I can then go back out there and, you know, do it. And then I can give light, and then I can give light as well. Right. And I think that in these moments, like to find people who are giving light and that you can give light back. Again, the heart is a mirror and you're just reflecting each other. Like that's what I think saves me. But ultimately, also, I mean, on a less like kind of esoteric level, like I don't like, my hat's off to all y'all in the United States right now who are living this nightmare, right? Like again, part of it is that I feel like I've kind of escaped to Morocco, and that by doing that, I'm able to more healthily, you know, engage in whenever because I go back usually to the United States like 2 to 3 months a year, and I feel like I can do that because I have built up, you know, this reserve from kind of being away from it. But to be in it all the time, I think is tough. So I think you have to kind of take those, you know, steps out and take care of yourself. There's actually you know, I've been doing this project for Dr. Abedi on unity. He's been interested in the concept of unity and what unites people and why people unite. And he wanted me to kind of look at like all the different dimensions of unity and the drivers of unity. And then also like, what are some good models for unity? And there's a project out there called the Wellbeing Project. And it's this NGO that is like, it kind of departs from Gandhi's words, like be the change you want to see in the world, right? You have to take care of yourself before you can do all this great work. So when folks are like getting 4 hours of sleep and eating nothing but ramen, right? And like drinking themselves into oblivion, like that is going to be really hard to shine that light out there. I don't know if I in any way answered your question.
Dude, I mean, I almost started crying. I almost started crying at the beginning of this answer. Courtney, your light is so beautiful, and your brain is so beautiful, and your heart, and you know, it's amazing because when you were answering that question, I heard like honking in the street, and for some reason I thought like, man, I've been around a lot of honking with this woman. Like we've been to a lot of different honking type cities. May the universe and the creator of the universe bless you, Courtney, and may you always be a light for us, and may you always find happiness and centeredness and purpose in everything that you do. And I'm so grateful to you for coming on and for giving us a bit of your beauty.
Oh, Ahmed, like, thank you so much. You're just showering
really
love and affection and meaning. And I am so excited that you're doing this podcast and that you're, you know, digging deep and going into the complexity and going into these other worlds and inviting, you know, everyone to join you on this journey. I mean, that is such a gift, and I am beyond like just delighted
so
that you even like thought of me for this.
You know what? Actually, can I do one more thing that you're going to hate me for doing?
Yeah, what?
Courtney leads actual tours. They're called illuminated tours.
They are. Yes.
And like, if this vibe right here that you got for the last like hour, you like that, and you want some of that like in person, on the ground, traveling the world, illuminated tours, Courtney Erwin.
I mean, I started with my buddy, or I didn't start it. I leapt on the bandwagon with my buddy, Dr. Omid Safi.
Oh, wow.
Scholar, at Duke University. And so he does them in Turkey, and those who want to come to Morocco. It is every time it is an epic journey through this country. Like people leave in such a different state, right? And so for me, if I can do that, it is so epic, because you meet this
Morocco trip,
the most beautiful people here. Like I mean, my friend who's whose father's the head of the coppersmithing brass guild in Fez, and you like learn about making these beautiful plates, and you go on pilgrimages up mountains to Sufi shrines, and you hang out with artists and musicians, and it is you go on a journey.
We're doing it.
So marhaban, like anybody wants to come on this journey, like come.
Love
once
it.
COVID ends
Yeah.
and we have a vaccine,
Yeah.
like Morocco is waiting for you.
You're amazing. Courtney, Erwin, you blessed us. I'm so thankful to you. I'm so grateful to you. And may you always be blessed and give my love to all the people we love together.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
حضرات السادة الركاب، أهنئكم بسلامة الوصول إلى مطار القاهرة الدولي. أرجو أن تكونوا قد استمتعتم بالرحلة، برجاء التوجه لأخذ حقائبكم